In the whirlwind of daily life, our minds are often on autopilot, reacting to everything around us: people, events, circumstances. We identify deeply with our thoughts and emotions, thinking that our internal narrative defines who we are. But what if I told you that your true self isn't the mind at all? Imagine you're sitting by a window on a stormy day. The winds rage, the rain pours down, and the sky is thick with clouds. The storm represents the turbulence of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But what if, in the midst of this storm, there is something within you that remains calm? Something that is simply watching, unshaken by the chaos? This is the observer. A higher consciousness within you that watches the mind but isn't defined by it. This presence isn't involved in the drama of life. It's the stillness that exists underneath the noise of your mental and emotional states. The observer doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't judge. It just sees what happens. It doesn't even need to do anything. It simply is. So how can you begin to recognize this observer? It's not something you need to force. It's something you allow to emerge naturally. Begin by simply watching your thoughts without engaging with them. This is easier than it sounds. Most of the time, we're so wrapped up in our thoughts that we don't even realize we're identifying with them. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes for a few seconds and just observe what comes up in your mind. Thoughts will float by, judgments, worries, desires, memories. But instead of getting caught up in them, just notice them. See them as they are, without trying to change them. You are not those thoughts. You are the one witnessing them. Over time, you'll notice this awareness growing stronger. You'll begin to sense that the real you is the one observing the thoughts, not the ones being thought. Once you realize that you're not your thoughts, you gain a profound sense of freedom. You can detach from the constant pull of the mind. The next time you find yourself stuck in a moment of frustration or anxiety, you can simply step back and observe the feeling without being consumed by it. Think about it. When you're caught in a strong emotion, like anger, your body tenses up, your mind races, and you lose touch with your true self. But the moment you remember the observer within, you create space. That space allows you to witness the emotion without getting lost in it. This is where true peace lies. The observer is your gateway to detachment, freedom, and ultimately, inner peace. You realize that nothing, not your thoughts, not your feelings, not even your identity, can truly define you. The observer is also your doorway to the present moment. When you step back and observe the flow of your experience, you become aware of the richness of the moment itself. You are no longer lost in thoughts about the past or the future. In essence, becoming the observer means stepping into the now. The mind constantly jumps between past regrets and future worries, but the observer exists in the present, where all things are happening. When you focus on being the witness, you tap into a deeper layer of existence. You move beyond the linear, time-bound world of thoughts and into the timeless present. This practice of observing, rather than engaging, transforms your relationship with reality. It opens the door to a quieter, more peaceful experience of life. A life where you are not a prisoner of your thoughts or emotions. In our modern, fast-paced world, control is an illusion many of us desperately cling to. We try to control our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances, believing that we can shape every moment to our will. But in doing so, we only create stress and frustration. When things inevitably don't go our way, we feel lost, powerless, or defeated. The observer teaches us that we do not need to control everything. It's not about forcing reality into shape, but about witnessing it without attachment. The moment you let go of the need to control your mind or your environment, you align with the flow of life. Take a deep breath and let go of the grip you have on your thoughts. In this space of surrender, you begin to realize that control isn't necessary. You don't need to manipulate everything to experience peace. You just need to be. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means understanding that there are forces far greater than your mind's grasp. Life is a constant flow of energy, moments, and experiences, each one unfolding in its own time. When you allow yourself to simply observe, you tap into that flow. This is the essence of the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, often described as effortless action. When you let go of your attachment to outcomes and stop forcing things, you align with life itself. You cease struggling against the current, and instead, you move fluidly with it. This shift in perspective, from control to surrender, can be revolutionary. Instead of feeling like a cog in a machine that must always turn, you begin to see yourself as part of a greater whole. You recognize that everything around you, the people, the events, the circumstances, is part of an intricate, interconnected web. By stepping back and observing, you trust in the unfolding of your life. As you begin to embrace the observer's perspective, you'll notice a subtle shift. You will stop reacting and start responding. When you're attached to controlling every moment, your responses are often knee-jerk reactions based on fear or desire. You don't think about the choices you make because you're driven by impulses. But as the observer, you create a spaciousness within your mind. This space allows new possibilities to emerge. You are no longer confined by old patterns or automatic reactions. Instead, you can choose to act from a place of clarity, wisdom, and understanding. This is not only true in your own internal world, but also in how you interact with others. By being an observer, you stop projecting your desires and fears onto other people. You see them for who they truly are without judgment, and you create deeper, more authentic connections. As you deepen your connection to the observer within, a remarkable thing happens. You begin to see through the illusion of the self. We've all built a sense of identity around labels, our names, our jobs, our relationships, our social status. We identify with these things because they give us a sense of security, a sense of who we are. But in truth, the self is an illusion. It's just a collection of thoughts, memories, experiences, and beliefs. When you become the observer, you start to peel back the layers of this illusion. You see that the self is simply a construct of the mind, built over time through stories and experiences. But you are not the self. You are the awareness that is watching it all unfold. This realization is profound. It's the key to understanding the deep philosophical concept of non-self, which has been explored in various traditions, including Buddhism and Hinduism. You are not the sum of your experiences. You are the awareness that witnesses them. When you understand this, you no longer feel limited by your past mistakes, fears, or successes. You see yourself as an infinite, ever-evolving being. We often become trapped in repetitive cycles of thought. These mental patterns, ingrained by our past experiences, our environment, and the societal influences around us, are powerful. They're automatic, often leading us to think the same thoughts and react in the same ways. We may feel that we are our thoughts, believing that they define who we are. The truth, however, is that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind them. Breaking free from these thought patterns starts with awareness. This means noticing when we're stuck in a loop of repetitive thinking. Perhaps it's the constant worry about the future or the regret over the past. These are thoughts that arise again and again. convincing us they are real or important, when in fact, they are often merely remnants of old experiences and conditioning. The first step to liberation is to recognize that these thoughts are just that, thoughts, not truths. One powerful method to break free from this cycle is mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, we create a space between our thoughts and our reactions. We begin to notice how thoughts arise, how they feel, and how they pass by. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts without being swept away by them. In this way, we begin to regain control. Rather than identifying with every passing thought, we can choose to let them drift away like leaves on a stream. Another tool for breaking free from thought patterns is the practice of self-inquiry. This involves questioning the validity of our habitual thoughts. For example, when we think, "I'm not good enough," we can ask ourselves, is this thought true? Where did it come from? Who am I without this thought? This process uncovers the source of our limiting beliefs, allowing us to challenge and eventually release them. By freeing ourselves from these repetitive, often limiting thought patterns, we begin to uncover a deeper sense of self. This shift is pivotal in understanding the illusion of the self itself. As we let go of these old patterns, we experience greater freedom and alignment with our true nature, which is beyond thoughts and egoic constructs. Once we begin to understand that the self is an illusion, it becomes easier to break free from the thought patterns that hold us captive. Our minds tend to create stories about who we are and what we should be, but these stories are just mental constructs. They're not who we truly are. By questioning these narratives, we create space for something deeper, a direct experience of life without the filter of preconceptions. This freedom allows us to respond to situations with greater clarity, rather than reacting from a place of habitual thought. The more we observe our thoughts without attachment, the more we realize that we are not our thoughts. This realization opens the door to living in the present moment, unburdened by the weight of past conditioning. Boundaries, whether physical or mental, are another construct of the self. We often see ourselves as separate from others, as if there is a clear line between me and you. This perception creates division and fuels feelings of isolation and fear. But when we challenge this idea, we realize that boundaries are not as rigid as they seem. The more we let go of the illusion of separation, the more we connect with others on a deeper level. We start to understand that we are all part of the same whole, interconnected by the same universal energy. This shift in perception dissolves the walls we built around ourselves and allows for greater empathy, compassion, and understanding. Living beyond the ego means learning to act from a place of clarity and presence. Without the heavy lens of ego distorting our perceptions, we are free to experience the world as it is, unclouded by judgment or past experience. The ego's grip on our thoughts weakens, and we open ourselves up to a direct, unfiltered experience of life. This shift is not about rejecting the self or the mind. It's about recognizing that the self is not the ultimate truth. By understanding this, we step into a more expansive way of being, where we respond to life with authenticity and openness. The illusion of the self is a powerful concept because it opens up the possibility for deeper connection, personal freedom, and inner peace. By recognizing that our identity is not fixed, we can free ourselves from limiting thought patterns and break down the walls of separation. The self becomes less of a prison and more of a starting point for a deeper exploration of our true nature. Living without the confines of the ego allows us to experience life as a fluid, interconnected whole. We begin to move through the world with more clarity, empathy, and joy, realizing that who we are is more expansive than we could ever imagine.